All right, we're here with Justina and Eddie. You guys, this is a very cool place, and you seem like very cool people, and you seem like you do very cool things. I don't really understand it, so I want to pick your brains. I want to find out what you guys do. So first of all, how do you describe yourselves? How do you describe your company?
It starts with us as a team, as writer-producers, and it really starts beginning to build from there as we develop. We're very lucky to develop artists that are really trying to come and compete in this business, as well as some stuff that's already established, maybe television shows or commercials that have a brand, and they're looking for something to emphasize that brand, and they need some things that are real specific. It's usually what we get called for.
And I would say in-house production team, basically a one-stop shop, for all the creative that comes with music creation. So basically, from pre-production, arranging, songwriting, composing, recording, mixing. So yeah, kind of
we wear a few hats.
Yeah.
Eddie and Justy production. What's behind the name?
We decided, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, everybody knows us separately in the business, right? And we both had a brand of our own. But I'm like, when I met her, I was sitting there going, I know that we can like partner up. And I was kind of like saying, is there a way we can figure out how to work together?
We ended up working on several projects together just because we clicked so well as friends, and we just realized that we had such a similar vision.
Well, you started it. You're the one who said, Eddie,
is it my fault?
Yeah, you're like, I want to get this guy, because you were living in France when you moved to France. And she had called and suggested me as a writer-producer with her. And that's where it all started.
Let's say I'm a singer, right? And I want to become famous. Do I approach you, or do you find the people? How does it work?
Well, it's a lot of it's word of mouth, actually. Eddie, has been a producer his whole life. And then before I met Eddie, I was an artist, singer-songwriter, and I had been doing that my whole life. So just through the years, we just know so many people. My mom is also an artist, singer-songwriter, Irene Kelly. So just between the two of us, we do have, I guess, a reputation in the music industry, and just know so many people. And I guess our work hopefully speaks for itself.
Do you think you develop an eye for talent?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of our job. In a sense, it just evolves that way. For me, I used to play, years ago, through college, late high school stuff, would play live. And to say it crassly, I just had to learn how to sell liquor. I had to sell beer, keep people in the seats. And it just started, it was a real educational project, a process of like figuring out what keeps people there, and getting the waitresses tipped like crazy and all. And all of a sudden you start developing that way, like here's these fans and stuff. And that, for me, translated really well into the music business, and it's just stuff that I'd always liked. And then here she is, an artist. And you really, same thing. You're out there having to figure out what the heck someone's listening to and what you're writing for. And so I think really the live aspect helped us out tremendously. And the way we listen to singers or artists that come to us is we really are finding what is it that makes them special. And then that's what we work really hard. And if we can find that, we turn that up to 11. And when we do that, then it's so much fun for the artist. They know how to start really writing more specifically what they're singing. It's just really, that's a really neat thing.
Recognizing that little special spark, because what makes someone stand out.
Usually they're so crazy talented, and they're willing to kind of take some critiques and stuff like that, because we're going to offer like some opinions if they're asking for it, but it's a big team effort. We're not telling them what to do and stuff. We're starting to share, because we have to learn them big time to expand on that. But if you're in there and you're really more like want to learn something a little more malleable, whatever, that's somebody it's really great to work with.
You have to have a combination of, obviously the talent, but then you've got to have the passion and the drive too. And it's, when it's not really matched up, that's when you kind of get into some problems, because you really have to have an artist that, like what Eddie said, has to be hungry and wanting to go out there. So if someone is reaching out to us, usually it's somebody who is is hungry, is wanting to pursue, their passion, and they're serious about it.
I think in a sense, the business, as much as it's changed, it's stayed the same. You have to have something of value, some serious quality out there to compete with all that. And yes, the distribution or marketing has changed, but it's still a product, and there's still a consumer, right? And we just know that it has to be at the highest level of competition that we can do for them.
Almost every artist has something to offer.
No doubt.
And they have a fan base, whether they have 2 fans or they have 1 million fans. And so what our job is to find their niche and then to help them find their fans, because someone out there is going to love this music. Sometimes we do have to do a little bit of the, I guess, tough love approach. And, we work our artists hard, not past where we think they can go, but we definitely, we've had singers in here and we push them to the edge. We're breaking down walls, we're building trust, and sometimes it takes extra time.
How did you get into the RCA building?
A dear friend of ours bought this building.
And I would say he also knows Steve Cropper, who we also work with. Steve is our other business partner.
Been with Steve for many years. Big R&B legend, guitar player. Sitting on Dock of the Bay is what he wrote for one of the examples. And he was like, I want y'all to come to Studio C. This studio, oh my gosh, I didn't know about it. As much as I've been lucky enough to work in the big room, Studio A, which was built to house strings and orchestra and stuff, this I discovered was built in 1968. This was all at Chet Atkins' office, where he was the head of A&R. And in 64 to 68, he was appointed to president of all of RCA, and he built this working room down here, this studio.
I know that Emily McGill was over at RFD. Yeah. So can you take me through the process of how you've worked with her?
Yeah, basically, she was another artist that kind of was brought to us from someone that Eddie knew from back in the day, and called him up and said, hey, I've got this artist. She's from Jackson. She's amazing. You have to hear her sing and play. And so we had her by the studio, and just as soon as we heard her sing, we just saw that wonderful
I think we wrote
quality.
Was that the first time we wrote with her?
I think it was the second time we saw her. Then we wrote a song with her that we just loved. And then from there, it just kind of...
Which is what? The song?
That one was called Write You Out of My Memory, and that's the one she performed on RFD, yeah.
And so you wrote that?
So yeah, Eddie and I wrote that with Emily.
Well, how many songs have you written for her?
Oh gosh, well we got her writing all the time, so we're constantly putting her in different writing rooms.
I know we said this was just a prop. But do you think you could show us kind of how the process works?
That's why he gets the big bucks, right?
Sure.
He knows how to
Why not?
Good job. I like that.
So for example, the next single we have coming out on Emily is one that we wrote together. And we were just sitting in the room in here, and she said something, and she goes, I'm just better when I'm drinking. And I was like,
amen.
Yeah, seriously, light bulb. So I was like, wait, that's kind of a cool song idea. And so then I just started kind of doing
And that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I just started messing around.
It sounds good.
And Emily started.
It sounds incredible.
I think, and then Emily was like, da 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 da. I'm better when I'm drinking. Don't wanna be too sober. Na 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 da 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 da. So you guys get to hear that when it comes out.
Yeah, well, it's cool. So the better when I'm drinking, so the title was in the idea, so she threw it in there with a melody and then just started blurbing some words behind it, but it gets an idea and a melody and kind of a little placeholder, right? And you're like, oh man, that's working pretty good. And so you just start expanding around that, so that nailed into the chorus. That's like the hook. So right away you hear better when I'm drinking. Well, that's in Nashville, what a hook. So the hooks are usually landing right in that chorus, Verses are little setups, little stories that bring you to that big payoff.
I'm better when I'm drinking.
Well, Justina and Eddie, I thank you so much for inviting us. This farmer gets to come do something like this. This is incredible. My wife and I are just grinning from ear to ear as we're walking in. Not many times do I get to sit by somebody that's so talented. Anyway, that you could play us off? I just want to hear you play.